not financial advice. I'm recording my thoughts about mongoDB. MongoDB is a cloud-based database management systems company. MongoDB announced their recent quarter results and the stock is down about 10%. It's currently trading at about $206 with a market cap close to $15 billion. For the fiscal year of 2023, that is 2022 February to 2023 January. So you could just read this as 2022. When I say fiscal 2023, just read it as 2022. So for 2022, they made about $1.284 billion of revenue. But for next year, they are only guiding for $1.48 to $1.51 billion of revenue. So even if they achieve the upper limit of $1.51 billion of revenue, that still represents 18% year-on-year growth. But previously they grew about 47%. So from 47% to 18%, that's a huge deceleration in revenue growth, and the stock price is reacting to that. The stock price dropped by about 10%. This is the major reason. And MongoDB is saying that the macroeconomic conditions are the reason for this deceleration in growth, and they maintain their 5-year strategic partnership with Microsoft Azure, and they think the conditions will improve after next year. Since the stock price fell by 10%, I want to evaluate if this is a good entry point for a long-term investment, and for that, I'm going to do a 2027 stock price evaluation for this company. For 2023, I'm going to assume that they can achieve their upper limit of their guidance, $1.51 billion of revenue. And for the estimated growth rate, I'm assuming 20%. You could say this company is only guiding for 18% this year, right? But I'm assuming that after this year, the cloud spending is going to come back and this company will resume their higher revenue growth. And 20%, in my opinion, is reasonable for that. If you think it's going to grow faster, you could assume the same number, but I'm assuming 20%, with which this company would make about $3.1 billion of revenue in 2027. Now I need to come up with a net profit margin. When I look into the gross margins of this company, they're in the range of 75 to 78%. So a lot of companies with that sort of gross margin range could achieve close to 27.5% net profit margins. So I'm going to assume 27.5% net profit margin, with which this company would make about $0.9 billion of net income in 2027. For a company growing at 20% and has a net profit margin of 27.5%, I can assume a multiple of 25, but this company has a lot of growth ahead. I can give it a little bit of premium and assume 27.5 multiple. But with that, this company would be worth about $24 billion in 2027. With respect to number of outstanding shares, I have to check their stock-based compensation and how much cash they have, right? Because the number of outstanding shares for future would depend on both of those. In the past 12 months, this company gave out about $381 million of stock-based compensation. That's almost 30% of their revenue, and obviously that is going to dilute the shareholders. And on top of that, this company's operating loss was about $347 million in the previous year. So their burn rate is close to 347 millions, and somebody has to pay for that, right? And when I look into the cash and cash equivalents of this company, they're only 455 million. So that's only good for maybe one and a half year, right? But I see a short-term investments of about $1.38 billion. At the moment, I do not know if they would use that $1.38 billion of short-term investments to pay for the operating loss, but I'm going to assume that they would, and they would not raise another round of cash before 2027. So I'm assuming about 3% dilution for the next 4 years, with which this company would have about 78 million outstanding shares. So when I divide the 24 billion market cap with 78 million outstanding shares, I get a stock price of about $303. Currently they're at $206, right? So that's about 47% gain in 5 years. For my personal journey, I would want at least a 2x before I even start to think about stocks like these. So I would wait for the stock to fall close to $151 so I can at least think of a 2x. In conclusion, I would wait for the stock price to drop close to $151 so that I can at least think about a 2x, and then I would decide whether to put money into this stock or not. Thank you so much for watching.